Hello. Welcome to part 3 of this tutorial series. In part 2 we looked at the snares and percussion. In this part we will look at how I processed my sax lead. Let's just dive straight into it this time. So first of all I have 2 duplicate tracks for my sax, which are both routed to the same bus. This is so that I can overlap my sounds, which gives a much nicer rolling feel to my lead. Now if I open up my EQ, you will see I have cut out the low end up to around 200 Hz and made a slight dip to leave space for my kicks and bass. Then added a boost around 7K. By doing this I make the sax sample a little bit brighter and sharper. Then, just to tighten everything up a bit, I have high cut everything above 16K. This is all I have done for the 2 separate channels. It's on the main sax channel that all of my processing comes in, so let's have a look at this. Now remember, all of my saxophone tracks are routed to this channel so that I can process them all together as one. So let's go through this step by step. Now it might look strange that I have used so many EQ plugins. But in this track I kept finding that I had to keep on adding and taking away different qualities, using different EQs. The reason for this is, the different EQ plugins out in the market these days do have differences in their sound quality and filtering. As you explore new EQ plugins, you will find that you have your preferences soon enough. Okay, so going back to my inserts panel now. In the first EQ, I have cut out the low end again, and applied a high shelf and a small cut around 5K to leave some room for my snares to breathe in the mix. Next I have used iZotope's stereo imaging plugin. Stereo imaging plugins, in my opinion, are really handy for mixing and mastering at home, and can really make the difference in your tunes. The next thing I have done is use another instance of the infamous alloy. I have used the gentle curve of alloy's EQ to change the sweet tone of the sax a bit and make it sit better in the mix. The EQ on alloy is a really good EQ for trying to get your melodic elements to sit in the mix a bit better. To add a bit more depth to my sax, I also used the exciter section in multiband mode, and affected the frequencies that the sax is occupying across the spectrum. Finally I have added some compression to make sure the levels are nice and average across the track. Okay, so next up, I have added even more EQ in 2 different forms. The first EQ is Logic's very own. And all I have done here is turn on the low cut filter. Just doing this alone often tightens up the low end of a sound very subtly. And sometimes it can be really effective. Finally, on the last EQ, I have just added a high shelf gain to bring out some more airiness in the sax. The last step I have taken with my sax lead is to create a few different sends. Some to reverb units and some to delay units. These will usually always be automated to suit the section of the tune. That is all for this video. In the next part of this tutorial, I will talk about how I processed the bass and vocals. Thanks for watching, see you next time.